Hey everyone! Hey, on Sunday we took a look at a very special friendship in my message called Portrait of a Friend. And it was between a man by the name of Hushai the Archite and King David. And we read about this friendship in the life and times of King David at a time which he was under threat of losing his kingdom to his rebellious son Absalom. And you can read all about this sordid affair in the book of 2 Samuel chapters 15 through 18. But in the middle of this story of this horrible betrayal by a son, we read about this man by the name of Hushai the Archite. Now, who was he? And what is so special about him? Well, as you read about the story of David and Absalom, you understand that King David was pretty desperate and very sad, very understandably. And in his grief and in his desperation, he ascended the Mount of Olives, which, by the way, was just outside of the city of Jerusalem. And he went up there to the top of the Mount of Olives to go before the Lord God Almighty to pray out his heart. And when he arrived, he found his friend Hushai already there in prayer on his behalf. And you can read about that in 2 Samuel chapter 15 at verse 32. Now, in another section of the Old Testament, in 1 Chronicles, David's court officials and kingdom administrators are listed with reference to their specific jobs and their roles. And at the end of the attendance roll is Hushai, who is simply referred to as a friend and confidant of David. And that's it. But it is everything. Now, as we continue on in the story, having arrived at the Mount of Olives and seeing his friend Hushai there in prayer and in obvious mourning, David beseeched him for help, and Hushai didn't hesitate to come to his friend's aid. Hushai demonstrated in his actions that he was indeed a friend that was closer than a brother by his immediate and complete willingness to bear David's burden of sorrow at what had transpired between him and Absalom. Hushai demonstrated his unswerving support of his dear friend by using his gifts and abilities to help David. And then Hushai demonstrated his deep love and commitment to David by sacrificially serving in a very specific and meaningful way. Now that moment on the mountaintop, these two friends strengthened their bond in a way that made, well, truly a cosmic difference. Who knows what would have happened in Israel if Absalom had been successful in overthrowing his father's throne, which means that he probably would have killed David. Who knows how the world would have turned out? Now, as we consider this whole idea of what it means to be a friend, I think it behooves us to really consider how we can be a friend rather than the other way around. In other words, I know we all want to have friends, of course. Having friends makes life better. But what about being a friend? How can you be a friend? And how can it make life better for someone else? Well, I want to share a story with you that kind of drives home this point. One day, Christopher Kerr was walking home from high school when he noticed another student from his class also walking home from school, but this student was carrying what looked like all the books from his locker. And Chris wondered why anybody would bring their books home on the weekend. There was a lot of fun things to do during the weekend, like play soccer games and football games to attend and parties to go to, Now, some of the other kids that were walking home as well must have been thinking along the same lines. And they ran at the boy and they teased him and they knocked the books out of his arms and he tripped. And so he landed on the ground, his glasses went flying, his books went flying, and the boy looked up and he had terrible sadness in his eyes. And this is what caught Chris's eye, and his heart went out to him. And so Chris jogged over to him, picked up the boy's glasses, handed them back to him, and he helped him pick up all his books. And then he asked him where he lived. Turns out the guy's name was Kyle, and he lived very close to Chris. And they'd never met because Kyle had only recently switched from a private school to Chris's high school. So the boys talked all the way home, and a friendship began. And Chris invited Kyle to play flag football on Saturday with his friends, and they spent most of the weekend having fun together. And Kyle became part of Chris's friendship circle. Now, over the next 4 years, Chris and Kyle became the best of friends. Kyle also went on to do very well academically and to be very popular at school. And on graduation day, Kyle was the class valedictorian. And so he started his speech, he cleared his throat, and he began this way, quote, "Graduation is a time to thank those who helped you make it through those tough years. Your parents, your teachers, your siblings, maybe even a coach, but mostly your friends. And I am here to tell you all that being a friend to someone is the best gift you can give them. And I'm going to tell you my story." And then Kyle went on to tell a story of that first day that he met Chris. He was carrying his books home because he had planned to kill himself over the weekend. He had cleaned out his locker so that his mom wouldn't have to do it later. And he looked hard at Chris and he said, "Thankfully, I was saved. My friends saved me from doing the unspeakable." A gasp went out through the crowd as this handsome, popular boy shared about his sadness in this most desperate moment. And a gasp went through Chris. Not until that moment did he realize the significance of their first encounter. Never underestimate the power of your actions. With one small gesture, you could change a person's life. Kyle's life was changed when Chris came over to him and helped him by picking up his glasses and helping him pick up his books. King David's life was changed when Hushai the Archite met him on the Mount of Olives. Whose life can be impacted forever when you choose to become a true friend to someone who needs a friend?